Good evening and welcome to my channel. I have another, of course, 1,000 word story for you. And this story, which is semi-autobiographical, except I'm not a girl, is set in Edinburgh, and it's called City of Remembrance. Susan Alder had not been back to Edinburgh for 20 years. She'd hoped to have a happier occasion to visit than her baby brother's funeral. Peter's second wife Nancy had been born in their hometown, and he'd fallen back in love with the city on various visits to Nancy's family home. Sadly, just 4 months into their marriage, a malignant tumour had been discovered in Peter's esophagus and had colonised and killed him with remarkable speed. Susan was ashamed to realise that she had not been back to Edinburgh since her mother died in 2007. There was a refreshingly Spartan Church of Scotland memorial service in Greyfriars Kirk. Then Peter's body was spirited away to Morton Hall for his cremation, a process that seemed to Susan to be a weirdly reductionist way to commemorate someone. It evidently comforted Nancy, however, who cradled the urn in the taxi back to Morningside as if it were a hot water bottle or favoured childhood toy. There would be a scattering, somewhat illicit, seemingly, in the Pentland Hills 2 days hence, but Nancy and her brothers and father wanted some time to themselves with what remained of Peter, and Susan was quite happy to accede to this request. This meant she had the whole of the following day to herself, and it turned out to be an exemplary spring afternoon. For the last 21 years, Susan had built up her business, Wanderlust walking tours, delivering themed walks around London and a growing number of other UK cities. In London alone, she ran a Dickensian tour, a Whitechapel murder mystery tour, a swinging London tour, a horticultural tour, and even a medical history tour, all well subscribed and now available as an interactive audio apps, so lone walkers could have Stephen Fry or Dame Judi Dench guide them through London's theatre district or museum quarter. As she walked the streets she'd last visited as an undergraduate in the late 1980s, Susan found herself delivering an imaginary spiel to an equally imaginary audience. Susan Alder's formative years were spent here in Edinburgh, centred chiefly on the university, studying philosophy and English literature, ostensibly, but mostly trying to cop off with medical students and drink herself into a state of mild oblivion. It was here, at the legendary Doctor's Pub, across from the medical school, that Susan first met her first boyfriend, Ian Singleton, a ribald poet, political science student, and creator of famous but lethal homebrew. He touched her up behind a tree just here on the footpath leading down to the meadows one Friday morning around 2 a.m. in February, when it ought to have been far too cold for that sort of thing. Progressing now into the cobbled contradiction that is George Square, with its combination of beautifully preserved Georgian architecture and brutalist 60s structure installed in place of callously demolished Georgian architecture. This square was where Susan lay one idyllic August afternoon, underlining and annotating passages in T.S. Eliot's 4 quartets, and feeling for the first time like a true intellectual. Across the adjacent Bristol Square and over the road was the third-storey flat where, incapacitated by a sleepless night of drunken antics, Susan left her morning bath running for 45 minutes. No showers in those days, and forgot about it, resulting in her flooding both the Forbidden Planet science fiction bookshop and Napier's the Herbalist, an Edinburgh institution. The nearby McEwen Hall here was of course the location for Susan's greatest embarrassment, as, ascending the steps to receive the ceremonial doffing of a tricorn hat and her master's degree, she tripped over her own gown and sprawled headlong in front of the Dean of Humanities and Provost, chipping one of her front teeth on a microphone stand. Just opposite, on the road leading down behind the National Museum, there once stood a cosmopolitan late-night drinking establishment, Negociants, where exotic Belgian beers, a new concept in drinking in the late 1980s in Scotland, were served up in round-bottomed glasses while a miniature symposium took place on subjects as diverse as the superiority of Depeche Mode to Duran Duran, blowjob technique, and whether stonewashed denim was passé. The utilitarianism of Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill was seldom discussed. Progressing along George IV Bridge and down Victoria Street, One might have found the Pierre Victoire restaurant, where £5 would buy one a three-course lunch. A few doors down, in Cannell's coffee shop, Susan first discovered the merits of mocha coffee served in a cafetiere for added sophistication, along with a mille feuilles for that much-needed pre-tutorial sugar rush. Moving swiftly now down the corkscrewing cobbles beneath the towering tenements, then left into the Cowgate, where, in a dank corridor between unwashed stone, one might find Sneaky Pete's late-night hostelry, where the jukebox held a canonical allure. Next door lay the Casbar's dangerous licentiousness and air of barely restrained violence. From there, we might take a 5 a.m. stroll up past the city cafe's Formica Canteen Chic, over the Royal Mile, down the tourist-confusing Coburn Street, and across the equally erotically suggestive Mound to a flight of steps where Susan had experienced her one and only lesbian crush, fueled by Snakebite and Black, with sultry-lipped goth Janice, whose impressive bosom had smelt like Parma violets and incipient regret. Now passing the naive, art-decorated railings above Waverley Station, one might finally reach Princes Street, where night buses could be sprinted for and missed. An intrepid explorer might stroll to its eastern extent as the dawn chorus tweeted its mellifluous rebuke to find the Penny Black pub, frequented by night shift sorting office workers, pool sharks, pub philosophers and dangerous drunks, where Irvin Welsh's Trainspotting might be enacted as street theatre, where one ought not to go under any circumstances if one had the taint of an English accent. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed this little meander through our immaculate capital, a city of dreams, steam and fog, adolescent crushes, intellectual development, ambitions unrealised, enlightenments abandoned, regret and remembrance. The end. So there you have it. Quite enjoyed writing that. Quite a lot of it is autobiographical, and some of you will recognise bits and pieces. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, feel free to subscribe, share the story, watch another one, jump up and down on one leg, write sonnets. Anyway, do things like that in support of the channel, and I shall continue, and I will see you again very soon. Bye bye.